Hey there. Ever read something you've written and just felt like it could use a little more punch? Well, today we're going to talk about a super simple tool to make that happen. It's all about the active versus the passive voice. And really, it boils down to one single question. Who or what are you putting in the spotlight? Let's jump in.
So I want you to imagine every sentence you write is like its own little stage. And the big question you have to ask yourself is, who's the star of this show, right? Is it the person doing the thing, standing right there in the center? Or is the spotlight on the action itself, what's actually happening? It sounds simple, but trust me, this one choice changes everything about how your message lands.
Okay, let's look at a classic example that we're going to keep coming back to. On one side, we've got the active voice. The teacher explains the lesson. Boom, super clear, super direct. You know exactly who's doing what. But then look at the other side, the passive voice. The lesson is explained by the teacher. See that? It's the exact same information, but the whole feel of the sentence changes. The focus, that spotlight we were talking about, has moved from the person to the thing.
All right, let's properly introduce our first character here, the active voice. Honestly, you can think of it as the hero of the story, the one that gets right to the point. It's clear, it's direct, and it's all about action. So what does that actually mean? Well, the textbook definition is pretty simple. In the active voice, the subject of the sentence does the action of the verb. That's it. Your main character, the subject, is the one in motion, the one making things happen.
So let's look at our sentence again. The teacher explains the lesson. Ask yourself, who's doing the explaining? The teacher, right? The subject, the teacher, is actively doing the verb explains. There's no confusion, no guesswork. It's just clean, efficient communication.
And you know, that clarity? That's precisely why the active voice is kind of the default setting for most English speakers. It's just the most direct way to say something. So here's the bottom line. If you want to be clear and you want to be understood quickly, the active voice is absolutely your best friend.
Okay, now for our second character, the passive voice. And this one, well, it sometimes gets a bad rap. But it's not the villain of the story, not at all. It's more like a specialist tool, you know? Something you pull out for a very specific job, and that job is all about shifting the focus.
So how does this thing work? Basically, in the passive voice, you're shuffling the sentence around. The object, the thing that was just sitting there receiving the action, suddenly gets a promotion. It moves right to the front of the line and becomes the new subject. So the whole focus flips from who's doing it to what's being done.
Let's grab our example one more time. The lesson is explained by the teacher. So who's the star of the show now? It's the lesson. The teacher's still there, for sure, but they've been kind of moved into a supporting role. That spotlight we've been talking about, it is now shining directly on the lesson.
Okay, so we get what it does, but how do you actually, build one? Let's pop the hood for a second, get into the mechanic shop, and take a look at the grammar behind it.
It's actually a pretty straightforward formula, like a recipe. Step 1, you grab the object of the action. Step 2, you pop in the right form of the verb to be, like is, was, or will be. Step 3, you add the past participle of the main verb, so explain becomes explained. And then the last step, which is totally optional, is to add by and then the name of whoever was doing the action in the first place.
Okay, this next part is maybe the most important bit. We know the what and we know the how, but the real skill, the real art, is knowing when to use each one. So let's leave the mechanic shop and head into the strategist room to figure out when active is the play and when passive is the smarter move. All right, here's the game plan. You're going to want to use the active voice when it's super important to know who is doing something and when you just want your writing to feel strong and direct. Now, on the other hand, you choose the passive voice when the action or the result is the real star of the show. Think about scientific reports, right? They say the solution was heated to 100 degrees. We don't really care who turned the knob on the burner. We care about what happened to the solution. Or, and this is a big one, you use it when you actually don't know who did the action. Like if you say, my car was stolen. The whole point is that the car is gone and we have no idea who the thief is. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that neither voice is good or bad. They're just different tools in your toolkit for different jobs. Every single sentence you write is a choice. It's a choice about where you point that spotlight. So the next time you sit down to write anything, just ask yourself that one question. In this story I'm telling right now, who or what gets to be the star?